Hi, welcome to the special episode of Marty's Garage. As you can see, I'm not exactly Marty, but I am his brother Tim, and thought I would give you a nice little episode on a little modern day car, a Mazda 3. I actually had the misfortune of having a transmission go out, so since I'm going to be swapping that out this weekend, I thought it would fit into your regular episodes of the MG, so I'll kind of show you the car here. It's a 2004 Mazda 3 2.3 with the Tiptronic transmission. All of a sudden, third and fourth gear went out. It's about $4,000 shop repair. I'm going to be able to repair it for probably just under $700 after buying a rebuilt transmission from a 2005. If you can see, I've removed all the plastics, and, battery, airbox. That's about it. You can see there's all the miscellaneous parts that will hopefully eventually go back on. The main step here is I'm going to have to pull both axles. I'm going to have to drop the transmission through the belly of the car. For at-home audiences, I would recommend never try to force a tie rod end off. If you can see here, I actually busted the bolt, so that's going to set me back about 3 days in this repair because that's not usually a stocked item. But more to come here in a bit. Hey guys, well, I'm back. I'm going to show you a couple things I did recently. Getting prepared for changing out the transmission. I need to flush all the transmission fluid out of it. Because it's a liquid-cooled transmission, I'm draining the antifreeze also. Show you kind of the places where I did that. Okay, so now I'm back again. I actually had a little trouble with my battery power there, so but I wanted to show you kind of the places where I actually drained the fluids out. We'll jump underneath the car here. If you notice, the end, you can see that bolt on the very back. I'm actually inside the left fender wall. I have the inside of the fender ripped apart, so that this is actually where we're going to slide the transmission through. But there's a small drain plug right in the back rear side of the transmission housing. So I drained probably about 4 quarts of transmission fluid out of the transmission. We'll go over here. I'll show you in the front of the transmission. That's where I drained the antifreeze. I want to get all the fluids out so that when we pull this thing apart, it's right up. Let me get a light here. Right up here. That's the inlet to the transmission. This is that dangling hose there was connected up to the inlet. So that's where I just kind of drained all the transmission antifreeze out. If you want to look at the engine here, I put a brace on because we're going to drop the engine or the transmission through the bottom of the car. The transmission mounts to the part of the frame which actually holds the engine in balance too. So we're going to have to brace the engine when we pull the transmission out, since one of its mounts is going to be removed. For those who haven't seen what a transaxle transmission looks like, I'll show you the rebuilt one that I bought today, and it's right over here. Here we go. Right at the end here, that's your torque converter. That's going to get mounted up to the engine casing, right onto the crankshaft, and that actually is your liquid clutch. All these little red plugs, this is where the axles are going to connect into. This would be passenger axle. On the other side, it's going to be your driver's side axle. This is the side of the engine that we're looking at underneath the car. The drain pan or transmission pan's on the bottom. The drain plug would have been on the rear here. There's just a couple electrical connections for some of the electrical solenoids. They're on the top, the rear, the transmission, and the front here. And then we have your coolant lines. That's primary it. So if we go over here again, my next challenge is I have to get this suspension loose. There's a ball joint on the bottom that there's a bolt right on the inside that when you pull that loose, you can lift up the transmission off a pin. And we need to do that so that you can see in here. Here's your CV joints. I need to remove that axle, which is hooked up into the transmission. You do that on both sides, and after that's pulled out, you should be able to pull the transmission engine mount off and drop it out. We'll see. Back later. Okay, so we're actually here again. I wanted to show you something really quick before I get to actually dropping the transmission out of the car. If we go underneath here, I found this to be pretty interesting. This is part of the linkage that hooks up to your shifter. You can see it up here. It's England. But this cable here hooks up inside of the car, and when you shift from like park to drive or neutral, it's actually let me get this better here. There's a little switch right here. This is actually an electronic switch that lets the transmission know what gear you're in. So if you're having trouble with just getting your car into the right gear, this is the good part. This is probably your problem, since most of these transmissions are electronic. So there you go. Hey guys, well, we're back. Got the transmission out, so I'll take you over, show you what it's like. So if you look down here, there was a bracket here. You got your torque converter still in the engine. Unfortunately, this is a really unique engine, and there's no access panel to get the torque converter bolts off. So I'm going to try to do it with it on, because we'd have to disassemble part of the engine to get that out, and don't want to do that right now. So around the whole perimeter there was bolts. There was a engine bolt in the back, or a mount. This thing worked out really handy. If you see here, I got a cross member that's holding the engine up. That worked really well. Here's the new engine, or not new engine, new transmission that's going in next. If you look down here, I was able to get this ball joint loose. Let me get a light. So got the ball joint loose right there. This was attached to that. Got that out. Pulled the drive axles out, which are right there. So yeah, if you see in the transmission all these red plugs, you gotta be real careful with dirt getting into these things. So as soon as we get it installed inside the car, we're gonna pull those out, put the axles in. Got a vent tube. You got your dipstick right here. Antifreeze lines, input, output, switching, and a couple electronic sensors and stuff. But alright, more to come. It's about 9:30 at night. I'm hoping to have this done in about 2 hours. Okay, so you can see here I have the transmission mount. I actually installed that. There's an aluminum mount here that bolts to the top of the transmission, which hooks up to the fender wall. And then there's another bracket that goes on top of that, that secures the air box and your battery housing, some of your air ducting for the intake. But that's primarily it. All these connectors here will connect up to the miscellaneous sensors on the airbox and your computer, which is mounted to the side of your airbox. Other than that, my next steps here are both axles are going to go on both sides of the car. That's the passenger side. It has actually an axle brace that goes on the back of the firewall or engine. Once you get those installed, put the brake calipers back on, mount the A-frame back together, and we should be back in business. I'm hoping to have this done probably in the next 2 hours. I would be able to drive it, but I broke the tie rod end, so I'm going to have to wait for parts. Other than that, this job is going to be done. So I don't know, if you'd like to see more modern day car stuff, why don't you just email martysgarage at gmail.com.